Cultural clashes. Americans versus Europeans. Who has better manners? Let's find out what people on Quora think. When I see Americans in London, they are often loud and act like they want everything done their way, even though they are in a different country. They don't seem to understand that things work differently abroad and sometimes act like they are better than locals. For example, we drive on the opposite side of the road and we won't change it just because someone complains. Americans are probably the loudest people you'll meet. In London, you can hear their conversations whether you want it or not. This isn't meant as an insult, it's just true. They don't seem to have inside voices, even in places like restaurants where others might want to talk quietly. Instead, they laugh and talk loudly, making sure everyone can hear them, both inside and outside the restaurant. There is no need to shout. Another thing is personal space. Americans seem to need a lot of space around them, and they often invade the personal space of Londoners without realizing it. It is hard to tell if they're being rude or just don't notice, but they should try to be more mindful. And teenage American girls often speak in a nasal tone that can be annoying to some people. It is a monotone sound that comes out through their noses, and some find it unpleasant. The funny thing is, Americans don't like it when other Americans behave this way, so why do they do it themselves? That was a comment from Joanna Smith on Quora, to which Annie Benefido replied, "People are people, it's hard to lump them together, but there are some generalities. In the United States, Northerners differ quite a bit from Southerners. I was born in the North, lived there over 20 years, and then moved to South, where I have lived for over 20 years. I found it more difficult to make friends in the North, but once you do, it's more solid friendship. It's easier to make friends in the South, but they come and go, and like to do things in groups. In the North, it was more one-on-one. In the South, we will see you again at the next party. Not all, but some." In France, I found people in Paris to be very cold, often rude and snobbish. In England, just a 40 minutes drive south of London, people were very friendly, just like the United States in the South. People in London were more guarded, just like they are in New York City. I spent some time in Portugal. They were extremely friendly. In Italy, they were flirty. Maybe because I was 22 years old when I was there. In Austria, they were cold. In Switzerland, I asked someone if I could pet their dog, and they looked at me as if I asked them if I could slit their throat. I love dogs and I find it hard to resist to love up on them, but I always ask before I touch anyone else's dog. I found German people to be painfully blunt, with little concern if they can hurt your feelings. Telling the harsh truth was valued more. Annie Benefento from Quora concludes. And what do you think? Please share your thoughts in comments. Here is Mike Barton's comment about so-called fake smiles of American people. American friendliness is not fake, as some Europeans like to suggest, but a form of etiquette that has been shaped by our national experience. For most Americans, saying hello, smiling, and making small talk is just as much as polite ritual as French person saying bonjour to every shopkeeper and Englishman talking about the weather. It's a lubricant that keeps a gears of society turning. In the end, making real friends in the US takes just as much work as in Europe. And I suspect the same holds true just about everywhere in the world, he concludes. Meanwhile, Jan Badiger believes that some Europeans misinterpret American etiquette because they don't recognize the cultural differences. Americans are just following the rules of their society. An indifferent greeting in America comes across a friendly invitation for some types of Europeans from negative face societies. Here's an example. Random cashier. "Hi, sweetie. How are you doing today? How are you doing today?" European. "Wow, I had a crazy day." Random cashier. "Bless your heart." That means fuck you, go away. Americans easily use your first name to start up a conversation and say etiquette phrases that non-native speaker misinterprets as positive feedback, when in actually they're trying to tell you they are done with the conversation and want to leave. Everything about this is a matter of basic etiquette and politeness, not a desire to make friends or even appear friendly, because Americans have a positive face culture, which is the opposite of what is common throughout much of Europe. And the final comment goes to John Abbott. Let's find out what he shared. Are people in the US friendlier than Europeans? Yes, in a sense, Americans are friendlier. They will readily strike up a conversations with strangers. They will call you by your name within minutes of having met you, tell you about their family, their work, where they came from, even things like how much money they owe. However, don't mistake the instant friendliness of Americans for true friendship that will be there for years to come. My observation is that often in the US, friendships are disposable, being left behind when you move to new town or you change your employer. So it might be really hard to create genuine deep connection that will last for a lifetime. Friendliness is common, but it's rarely transformed into deeper, more meaningful friendships, as Americans tend to prioritize casual social interactions over deeply emotional conversations. Finally, the transient nature of many communities, with people frequently moving for jobs and studies, can make it harder to form lasting ties. But hey, isn't it a universal problem nowadays? And what shall we do? And if you're not allowed to talk about your true feelings in public or hide them under the thick white smile, would you eventually turn into the passive-aggressive pretzel to maintain this facade? Culturally, the trait is shared by Brits and Anglo-Canadians. Continental Europeans are often more direct in their expressions of dislike and displeasure. So that was just a few thoughts of people on Quora. Let us know what association with manners and making new friends in your country is. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you next week.